What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Cjthecheesedj here, and we're back with another top 8 video. And today we are taking a look at the top 8 most underrated dinosaurs, creatures, whatever the heck you feel like calling them today, in Ark. So we're counting down from 8 to 1, 1 being obviously the most underrated in my opinion, and 8 being the least underrated. If that kind of makes sense, you get where I'm going with this. It all makes sense. It all makes sense in the end. Just don't freak yourselves out. Alright, let's get into the video now. At number 8, we have the elusive Dodo. That's right, number 8 is the Dodo. In my opinion, he's one of, well, the least most underrated dinosaur in all of Ark. Think about it, this guy's just your lonely Dodo wandering around the beaches, wherever you can find him, wandering around in the jungles, minding their own business, not bothering anyone, and then you decide to come along and kill these poor guys and his family. Well, truth be told, if you tame these guys up, they'll give you plenty of Dodo eggs that you can use for food, you know, use it to make kibble for Pteranodons. Essentially, you've got yourself a living livestock. It's pretty much a living chicken. You can get the food off it, you can use the food for other stuff if you want, you can use it in recipes, you can use it to make kibble. The Dodo's uses are unlimited. You can even use it as a sack of meat to feed incoming predators to try and escape. For example, Rex coming your way. Oh no, whatever am I to do? There is a Rex coming after me, don't worry. My friendly Dodo will sort of distract it while I run away. You can see there, the Rex did get slightly entertained by the thought of Dodo meat for dinner. Well, turns out we have the greater movement speed, which is obviously explanatory. But let's just come back around here to our little wee Dodo, wherever he may have gone. I don't know where our actual Dodo has gone. Now the Rex is just on his own. Well, you just saw there, that's hands down evidence that Dodos can actually divert wild dinos away from you. So definitely invest in a couple of Dodos if you're not afraid to lose them, and who knows what untold fun you may have with them. Number 7 is the Wooly Rhino. Now, this guy, I cannot tell you how good these guys are. Much like the Direbears, these guys gain movement speed while continuously running. You can see there, we're just, you know, trolling it along, and then boom, we're off like a bullet. Look how fast oh my god, it's so fast. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, the Woolly Rhinos are actually one of the beastiest dinosaurs, creatures, mammals, whatever you want to call them, that you can get in Ark. Watch this, ready? Kablamo! 1890 damage. This Rex alone is only hitting 26 damage on us. We just did under 2000 damage to this wee old Rex. We're doing 140 to him at the moment. This must be a really weak Rex, Jesus. But like you saw there, we just did 1829 damage. As the Woolly Rhino gains more movement speed, you can see he gets a little rage bar in that top right corner, which I'm sure you guys are well aware of by now. And then this in turn increases the amount of damage that this guy will do to opposing victims. This poor Diplodocus over here, watch him. Kaboom! Another big hit from the Woolly Rhino, dealing another 1890 damage. These guys are nuts when it comes to DPS. You buff these guys up in health, melee damage, and stamina, you'll have yourself a very, very, very strong battering ram that'll pretty much take out anything on the island, aside from the occasional Gigaron or so. As well as that, they're also able to harvest berries, and you know, you just don't see many people using these guys. Another really good bonus effect that they have, which we can't currently demonstrate to you, is that they have the ability to pretty much plow through trees. Once they get to a certain speed, you're actually able to just run straight through the trees without them stopping you. That's a really useful ability for when you're running around discovering things on the island. You can see here, see, there we go. Those branches didn't stand a chance against us. We just plowed right through them. They were yesterday's dinner. So I would definitely recommend getting yourselves Wooly Rhino. There we go. There goes another bunch of branches. Only thing that stops them is rocks. Don't run into rocks. That'll end your speed with the Woolly Rhino. But I cannot tell you how good these guys are. They're really beastly. Like, you come in here, look at their weight. This guy's at level 100, Tame. He's got 1800 health, mediocre obviously, but their weight is 1000. That is nuts. And this guy has 350 melee damage. Imagine buffing this guy's melee damage up to at least 500. We can get it up to 450 right now. Just imagine the kind of, and they're really cute. Look how he rolled over. That was adorable, guys. Come on, you got to admit that was absolutely freaking adorable. These guys are absolutely nuts when it comes to ruling the jungles of Ark, especially since you find them in packs. Oh god, and herds together. These guys will absolutely wreck the face of any dinosaur, unless you take them for a little jump and they take too much fall damage. Now, number 6 on this list is another dino that you don't really see taking the spotlight all too often, and I personally think that it actually has a wide range of uses that you can even use during PvP. So this dino is the Pachyrhinosaurus. There he is there in all his glory with his huge crest. Now, this guy has the ability to pretty much give off vapors that either cloak your appearance or, you know, enrage the dinos around you. For example, let's just quickly demonstrate it. Here in front of us, you see a gigantic beaver dam in its natural habitat. Well, we are now going to swipe everything from this beaver dam as soon as we can open up the inventory. Can we, there we go. Ready? Watch this. Okay, there you go. You can see that the beavers will now rage on us. If we come over here, look at this little dude. There we go. And we activate our cloak. Oh my god! We aren't being targeted any... Okay, well, that one wasn't targeting us. Now the rest of the... Okay, well, this is a terrible failure. We were not expecting so many beavers. And this has turned into a huge failure on my part. Let's not cloak ourselves any... Woo! Okay, well, take 2. So like I was saying, the Pachyrhino is pretty much capable of cloaking itself against predators. You can see that purple mist gets laid off, and, well, we are cloaked, the Stego appears to be cloaked, and the Carno is now attacking the Phiomia. However, another added ability of the Pachyrhino, aside from the cloaking one, is that you can actually send creatures into a rage. So instead of using the secondary attack, you actually use your third attack, and you'll see here, the Phiomia will actually get raged at us. You can see that we're now in trouble. This is the part where you want to start running, because we have now enraged all the dinos. You can see even that Pachy over there is come running over to us to be like, I want a piece of you, come give me a piece. Even though you're a herbivore, you still need to try and eat us, don't you, sir? So you can see here, now the Carno is obviously raging at us, the Stego is raging, the Phiomia is also raging. So you can essentially use these guys as walking bombs. If you plan on raiding a base, you can actually take these guys in rage. You can see there the Pachy is no longer interested in us because of our cloak ability. The Stego seems to just want us still. But, you know, these guys, you can technically use them to, like, kite a whole herd of, like, Raptors, Carnos, Rexes into a raid that you're potentially doing, and then use them against the enemy base. Granted, they're not going to be too much because they're obviously wild dinos, so they're not going to have any levels put onto them, but they're still going to provide a bit of a distraction while you, say, go around the back, blow up their base, and just demolish them. If you do plan on doing that, just make sure you pump your Pachy with movement, speed, and stamina. You can see even the Parasaur is angry at us. Number 5 on this list is another dino that I feel isn't as appreciated as some of the other dinos that, you know, you can find in Ark. Granted, there are over 120 creatures in Ark. You know, this list is very limited, and I've done my best to try and narrow it down to specific creatures, but this is my best run. Let me know if you guys think there's anything different. But kicking off at number 5 is the Sarco. That's right, the dual land and ocean predator. Now, this guy is incredibly fast on land, but his speed gets even better in water. You'll see here, bam, and we're off. So these guys are actually really good because you can take them obviously through the rivers that line the islands, the various islands, so Ragnarok, the island, you know, the center, especially the center. Sarcos would be a lifesaver on the center. You can get on them, they don't have an oxygen stat. The only downside to them is that it takes them a little bit longer to get to the ocean top before other creatures do. So like Megalodons would be able to get you there faster. You know, your other basic underwater aquatic creatures will be able to get you to the surface faster than the Megalodon. But, you know, I don't really see too much trouble with that because these guys are fast in their own right, and you're not going to swim, obviously, crazy deep with these guys. Another added bonus is that, much like other land dinos, when you hop off this guy, he won't actually swim to the top like all the other creatures do. We're going to hop off on back here for our own safety. He's also able to contend with the likes of Megalodons, even Plesiosaurs, granted he has enough levels. These guys can be absolutely crazy when it comes to underwater combat. So I would definitely recommend getting yourselves a Sarco if you don't have one already, just to take with you for those rivers, you know, and those on-land journeys. You can even take them on land. They've got really good stamina use, and their melee damage is actually really solid. You can see here they've got a decent amount of health, decent amount of stamina, relatively okay amount of weight, and a pretty solid amount of melee damage. So I definitely recommend getting yourself a Sarco, and that is why one of these guys are number 5 on this list. Coming in at number 4 is another dino that I feel doesn't get as much spotlight as it should, and that is the Cjthecheesedj. Now, I think the reason why these guys don't get the spotlight much like other dinos is that because they're a pain in the big bottom to tame. They need beer to tame, and nobody really bothers to make beer. It's granted it's a good buff, but you know, people don't bother. Now, the reason I say that is because this guy is nuts when it comes to DPS. You wouldn't think such a small thing would actually pack such a big punch, but we're actually hitting 20 shy of what the Sarco was hitting. And the Sarco is at least double the size of the Cjthecheesedj. Now, as well as that, he also has a pretty nifty attack, and that is its Boulder Toss. Now, this Boulder Toss acts as a PvP item, I guess you could say. It essentially is a catapult. Now, as well as that, that also applies a certain blight effect, I guess you could say, on players that prevent them from running fast. You know, they also blind them, sort of. I think they blind them, sort of, yeah. And so, you know, depending on what terrain you're standing on, you can actually throw different boulders as well. You see there, it looks more like a stone. Here it kind of looks more like dirt. I don't know if you can really see that. but it actually deals damage to stone structures as well. As well as that, it also deals more damage than the Challiso's primary attack. You see that we hit 280, 100 with our primary attack. These guys are nuts. They also gather berries, which is obvious. They don't gather anything aside from berries. They can't gather meat as well. But you can see there's a pack of Allosauruses up here, and we're going to try and get the quick hit on them. I highly doubt our Challisotherium will survive a pack of 3 Allos, but I honestly would not put it past him to survive this encounter. Here we go there. There's 3 of them there. We're going to lob a boulder at them. There we go. You can see there, it's only doing 140 because obviously, but it also does bounce. So obviously, the more you bounce it, the more damage it will do. He also has a slight knockback on his third attack. You can see they're actually successfully knocking them back pretty well. So you can essentially stun lock dinos and kill them. You can see here, we're actually going to be able to take on this pack of Allosauruses just by keeping them at a distance with our third attack. This is why one of the Challisos are probably one of my most underrated dinos. You know, you can see here, we're actually able to defeat these Allos with relative ease. We don't take too much damage. If you look at our health in the top right corner, we haven't actually taken too much damage. So, you know, Challisotheriums are definitely not to be messed with. And I would definitely recommend getting yourself a Challisotherium for... You don't have to necessarily use him for PvP. However, he is a good PvP dino, you know, those structures that are still in stone. You can easily crumble them without having to utilize too many resources. All you've got to do is make beer. You just saw there, we've actually able to take out a level 130 Allosaurus. Now, this one here is probably going to be a little bit harder because, yeah, he's a 135. But, you know, now that he doesn't have his pack bonuses, you can see here, we're actually going to be able to hit a lot more damage on this guy. So I would definitely recommend getting yourselves a Challisotherium as soon as possible. At number 3 on the list, we have the Procoptodon. Now, these guys, in terms of melee damage and, you know, surviving encounters, aren't that amazing. But in terms of pure traveling, these guys are absolutely nuts. Now, you've probably seen my top 10 traveling dinos video as well. I didn't include these guys on that list because at the given time I was thinking of better options, but after utilizing the Procoptodon a little bit more, I can easily say that, in my opinion, I do prefer him over the Beelzebufo. So I would definitely recommend getting yourselves a Procoptodon. Now, the added bonus of being able to carry a player in the pouch as well, so you can essentially use them to carry a player and, you know, ride along into PvP with the player with a rocket launcher, blowing up structures as you hibbity-hobbity away. So I would definitely recommend getting the Procoptodon. And with the newest TLC patch, these guys are getting a big buff where they can actually carry babies in their pouch. Now, the only downside here to these guys, like you saw, is that they actually take regular fall damage. They don't take decreased fall damage from falling, which is a really big pain in the bosom, because you'll see here, this will practically kill him. You can see there. So if you tame yourselves up a Procoptodon, you have to be very careful not to take them cascading down mountain falls, oh god, before they, you know, run out of health, because you definitely don't want that happening to your Procoptodon. Go away, Sabertooth. Coming in at number 2 on the list is the Direbear. Now, if you guys have been a fan of the channel for a long time, you'll know my undying love for the Direbears. These guys are literally the pinnacle of small mount destruction. These guys have the power of a truck in the size of a car. You can see here, look at this poor Moschop. He's going to suffer our wrath, and we're going to hit 168 damage on him. That is ridiculous. Now, this guy is a level 100. Take that into mind as well. But these guys do it all. They've got awesome move speed. They've got tons of weight. You can see here, this guy will easily have just under 1,000 weight. Like, these guys are absolutely ridiculously powerful. The other bonus that they get is that the longer you sprint with them, the faster they get as well. You can see here, our Direbear is flying at the speed of light. He's absolutely rocketing through this. Now, these guys are absolutely beastie as well in terms of damage output. In terms of tanking damage, you can easily pump a few levels into health and melee damage and have these guys as frontline fighters in raids. Granted, they're not on pars with T-Rexes, but they can easily duke it out with wild T-Rexes, and heck, I'd even say they could hold their own against PvPers and their T-Rexes. Now, another really good thing about these guys is that their saddles are relatively easy to make, and that means that you can get them in lower tier drops, kind of, if that makes sense. So essentially, you'll be able to get higher leveled saddles at the lower tier drops. So for example, instead of getting an Ascendant Rex saddle, which would require you to hit up like one of the big red drops, you could instead hit up one of the gold drops, for example, and get the blueprint for, say, a Mastercraft, Apprentice, you know, even Journeyman Bear saddle, which is incredible because it just increases the armor of the Direbears, making them even more powerful. And you saw there just how fast we got up to. These guys have great stamina. You can use them for anything, and I mean anything. They're also able to harvest meat and hide off enemies and fiber. You can see he has a secondary attack where he's actually able to harvest fiber. These guys are essentially Thyrannosauruses just on a smaller scale, and the loss of the ability to gather thatch and wood. I would definitely recommend getting yourselves some Direbears if you don't have them already. Coming up at number 1 is the Allosaurus. Now, a lot of people overlook these guys because, well, they're not T-Rexes and they're not Spinos, so people are like, well, why am I going to bother taming an Allosaurus? Well, let me just tell you, these guys are incredible in their own right. Not only do they have the ability to deal Nash damage, you can see there, we've got that Dillo bleeding now, which does 5% of their total health over 10 seconds, which is incredibly useful for taking out higher health targets, for example, Gigas, even other PvP dinos. You know, you take these guys into PvP, and you'll easily be able to fell the Rexes with the Nash ability, because it'll just shred right through their health. As well as that, they also get the pack bonus when in a pack of 2 or more, and they get the mate boost, which makes them even more powerful. Now, they have to be in a pack of 2 in order to be able to use the shear ability, I'm pretty sure it's called, and that is what causes the bleeding on targets. But I feel like these guys are just skipped because people go straight for the Rexes and the Spinos. I feel like these guys definitely deserve some time in the limelight. The only downside to these guys is trying to tame them, because they're obviously hunting packs, so you obviously got to try and separate them a little bit to try and single out one of them and get that one down, or you know, you could just try and kill the other two. But that's all there really is to try and tame these guys up. Other than that, they're pretty much your standard knockout tames. They have decent health, which can be leveled up obviously into higher tiered stats. Granted, they're not on par with the Rexes, but they can easily go toe to toe with the Rexes if you've got a pack of 2 or more. I definitely recommend getting yourselves a pack of Allos, even if you don't really think you're going to use them too much. These guys make great PvE dinos as well, capable of felling most of the wild creatures on Ark. So I definitely recommend getting yourselves a pack of Allos. Now, that'll pretty much be it for this video, but before we end it up, I just want to do a quick honourable mentions for a few dinos that weren't actually on this list. So the first one is the Spino. I feel like this Spino is overlooked. However, the only reason he wasn't on this list is because due to Aberration, he's now getting his own limelight. Being one of the large carnivores on Aberration pretty much makes him, you know, one of the most tamed dinos in Aberration, because he's also got the radiation protection. So I definitely recommend the Spino as well as one of the underrated dinos. On top of that, the Megalodon, the gigantic shark that swims in the water. Much like the Sarco, you can easily go toe-to-toe with Plesiosaurs, even Mosasaurs if you've got the right amount of levels into him and the right amount of stats. So he's a great first carnivore tame, and I would definitely recommend getting yourself a Megalodon as well if you don't have one already. But that'll be it for me today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of it down below. But other than that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.